Chosen one. Listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is not a coincidence. You did not stumble onto this message by chance, and you are not hearing these words at a random moment in your life. Something sacred is happening right now. Something heaven has been preparing you for, long before you even realized how heavy your burdens had become. You carry things most people will never understand, and you've carried them in silence. Not because you wanted to, but because you felt you had no other choice. There were nights when you held yourself together with nothing but a whisper of faith. Days when you woke up determined to keep going, even though your spirit felt bruised, tired, and stretched far beyond what seemed fair. You carried responsibilities that were never yours alone, emotions that were never meant to sit on one heart, battles that were bigger than your strength, yet somehow you endured. Somehow you pushed through. Somehow you kept standing. But hear this clearly. God saw every moment, every tear you cried quietly, every weight you held privately, every time you said, "I'm fine," even though your soul felt crushed under invisible pressure. Heaven has been watching, not ignoring, listening, not silent, counting every burden you carried as evidence of your faithfulness. And now in this very moment, God is moving to lift off what you were never meant to carry alone. You're going to notice a shift in your spirit, a loosening of the pressure, a softening of what once felt heavy. Not because your situation magically disappears, but because the one who strengthens you is stepping in. For so long you thought you had to be strong because no one else would be. But now God is about to show you that His strength is greater than your exhaustion, His mercy deeper than your wounds, and His timing more precise than your pain. Chosen one. This message is your confirmation. The weight is being lifted. The heaviness you've been walking with is losing its grip. You are stepping into a moment, heaven scheduled long before your breaking point arrived. And before this message is over, you will understand why you carried so much, why God allowed certain struggles, and why this exact moment right now is the turning point your spirit has been waiting for. Something is shifting, something is releasing, and God is about to lift off what has been weighing you down. What you're beginning to feel in your spirit right now, that subtle unburdening, that gentle release, that unexpected sense of breath returning to places inside you that felt suffocated. It is not random. It is the evidence that the one who created you has stepped closer. The weight you've been carrying has reached heaven's threshold, and God has declared enough. This is the moment where divine intervention meets human exhaustion. The moment when God says, "You've carried it long enough. Now let me carry you." For so long, you've been walking with strength that was never your own. You pushed through days that tried to swallow you. You survived seasons that would have broken others. You endured emotions, responsibilities, and silent battles that piled upon each other layer after layer, year after year. And while you didn't complain, while you didn't let your pain shout louder than your faith, heaven heard what your soul could not say out loud. God saw the weight that settled on your spirit. God felt the pressure that tightened around your chest. God watched how you kept trying, even when your hope felt thin. And now God speaks. You were never meant to carry this alone. This message comes not from human effort, not from motivational energy, and not from empty comfort, but from a divine source who knows the architecture of your spirit. The same God who handcrafted every gift inside you, who shaped your resilience, who designed your destiny, has stepped into this very moment to speak directly into your tired places. You have reached a space in your journey where heaven refuses to let you continue under the weight that has been draining you. God is not simply easing your load. He is reclaiming what was never meant to rest on your shoulders in the first place. What felt like emotional weight was often generational weight. What felt like personal responsibility was often spiritual responsibility. And what felt like loneliness was actually divine protection, a separation that kept you aligned even when your heart ached for comfort. Hear this clearly. God has decided to intervene. Not because you asked perfectly, not because you prayed flawlessly, not because you carried everything with unwavering strength, but because God sees what others do not see. The cracks that formed under pressure, the courage you displayed in silence, and the faith you held on to even when your hands were trembling. This message is heaven's way of telling you that your endurance has reached its appointed reward. You have been faithful in the unseen places. You have stood in moments that would have destroyed a weaker soul. You have carried things that were preparing you for what is coming, but not everything you carried was meant to stay with you. And now the divine intention behind your struggle begins to unfold. This is the part where God reveals not only that He is lifting the weight, but why He allowed you to feel its heaviness for a season. This is where clarity enters. This is where understanding begins. This is where the veil lifts and the meaning behind your journey starts to reveal itself. Take a breath. Your spirit is about to understand what your heart has been questioning for years. What is happening in your life right now is more than a feeling, more than an emotional shift, and more than a moment of relief. It is the beginning of a divine release. God is not only lifting your burdens, He is dismantling the spiritual structures that caused those burdens to cling to you in the first place. What you are stepping into is a prophecy unfolding, one that heaven has prepared long before you ever knew you would need it. There is a reason why the weight became unbearable. There is a reason why the pressure intensified right before this moment. There is a reason why you felt more alone than ever, even when people were around you. The heaviness was not a sign of God's absence. It was a sign of His preparation. You were being readied for a divine intervention so precise that it required every distraction, every dependence, and every false source of strength to fall away first. Listen carefully. The season of carrying alone is ending. Not because life suddenly became easier, but because God has declared a shift over you. A shift that no earthly force, no spiritual resistance, no emotional weight can stop. Here is the prophecy. God is lifting off every unseen burden that was draining your spirit. The heaviness you felt was not just emotional, it was spiritual. It was generational. It was atmospheric. You were carrying battles that belonged to your bloodline, weights inherited through silence, responsibilities passed down through survival, and pressures that were assigned to you not because you were weak, but because you were chosen to break what others could not. You felt alone because you were the one set apart. You felt the weight because you were the one equipped to end it. You felt the pressure because heaven was shaping you for authority. But now comes the release. God is stepping into the places where you've been stretched thin, into the corners of your heart where fear collected, into the memories that still ache, into the responsibilities that have been suffocating your sense of peace, into the spiritual battles you never told anyone about. And He is lifting them one by one, even the ones you forgot you were carrying. This lifting is not symbolic. It is precise. God is removing the internal weight that made you feel like you were never enough. The emotional weight that whispered lies about your worth. The spiritual weight that tried to crush your purpose. The generational weight that attempted to repeat patterns through you. The unseen weight that came from environments, people, and past seasons. In this prophetic moment, God is declaring freedom over the parts of you that have been bound for years. You are stepping into a season where the heaviness will not follow you, where the burdens you once normalized will no longer sit on your shoulders, where the responsibilities that drained you will begin to shift, where strength will rise from a place inside you that is no longer weighed down, but lifted up. But the prophecy does not end there. Not only is God lifting off what was heavy, He is positioning you for what is holy. Your spirit is being prepared for clarity, for direction, for renewal, for new assignments that require a heart free from old burdens. You are being elevated into a spiritual posture where peace becomes your anchor and purpose becomes your compass. Where confusion untangles. Where exhaustion lifts. Where your spirit breathes again. And you will notice that the things which made you heavy no longer affect you the same way. People will look at you and wonder why you seem lighter, why your presence feels different, why your energy is shifting. They will not understand the spiritual exchange taking place, that God is removing the weight and replacing it with divine rest, divine strength, and divine guidance. This is the prophecy you will not carry alone again. Not in this season, not in the next, not ever again in the way you once did. God Himself is stepping beside you, walking with you, covering you and lifting you into a place where the heaviness breaks, the pressure lifts, and the air around your destiny becomes clear. Everything that weighed you down is losing its grip. Everything that drained you is being dismantled. Everything that tried to exhaust you is being overturned by heaven's decree. You are standing in the doorway of a divine release. And once you step through, you will never be the same. There is a reason why your journey has felt heavier than most, a reason why the weight you carried seemed to settle on you instead of those around you. A reason why you felt responsible for healing things. You did not break fixing things. You did not damage in carrying emotional and spiritual loads that belong to whole environments, not just individuals. To understand what God is lifting now, you must understand the spiritual meaning behind why the weight rested on you in the first place. You were not burdened because you were weak. You were burdened because heaven trusted you with what others could not hold. There is a sacred truth many never hear. Those chosen for elevation are often chosen to carry weight before they are chosen to carry glory. The heaviness shaped you, refined, you stretched you, and awakened the parts of you that comfort never could. Think about it. Coal becomes a diamond only under pressure. Olive becomes oil only under crushing. Gold becomes pure only under fire. Your spirit has been undergoing a divine refining process, even when it felt unfair, overwhelming, or exhausting. The weight you carried was not a punishment, it was preparation. God was shaping your resilience so that when the time came, you would not be destroyed by the blessing He intended to place on your life. But beyond preparation, there is something deeper you were carrying weight that didn't originate with you. You carried emotional expectations others placed on you, silence that formed in your family line, trauma that never healed in generations before you, responsibility for keeping peace in environments that resisted peace, spiritual battles that originated long before you were born. In the spirit realm, weight attaches to the one with the strongest capacity, and that was you. It wasn't because life was unfair, though it felt that way. It wasn't because God abandoned you, though the silence was painful. It was because God built you with a spirit that could hold, resist, withstand, and transform what others would collapse under. You were not carrying weight. You were breaking cycles. And breaking cycles is never light work. The deeper spiritual meaning is this: heaven assigned you to be the point of separation between what was and what will be. You stood at the threshold of generational history, and every heavy thing you carried became evidence that you were the one called to stop patterns, heal wounds, and reset the spiritual atmosphere for your bloodline. Even your loneliness had purpose. It kept you from repeating what you were sent to end. But the weight was never meant to stay with you forever. Its purpose was specific. Its timing was temporary. Its assignment had an expiration date. You have now reached that expiration point. The reason God is lifting the weight now is because the season for breaking has transitioned into the season for building. You cannot build while carrying what was meant to be buried. You cannot rise while weighted down by what belongs to a past God is shutting the door on. You cannot hear divine instruction clearly while the echoes of old burdens drown out new direction. In this next chapter, God needs your hands free, your mind clear, your heart open, and your spirit uncluttered. Elevation requires space. Destiny requires clarity. Calling requires focus. The lifting happening now is not just emotional relief, it is spiritual alignment. God is clearing the atmosphere around your life, breaking the spiritual ties that kept you weighted, untangling the emotional cords that drained you, loosening the burdens you thought were just part of life, removing the heaviness that attached to you through every season of survival. In heaven's eyes, weight is not just what you feel, it is what you carry energetically. And the spiritual realm recognizes something you may not have noticed, yet your spirit is rising. The heaviness that once clung to you no longer matches the frequency of your destiny. You have outgrown the burdens, and heaven is honoring that growth by removing them. There is also a profound truth you may not have recognized. Lightness is a sign of elevation. When God lifts weight, it is because He is raising you, raising your authority, raising your discernment, raising your spiritual sensitivity, raising your assignment. Pressure trained you, but freedom is about to reveal you. Your identity will feel different. Your relationships will feel different. Your thoughts will become clearer. Your decisions will become sharper. Your emotional world will find peace. Your spirit will feel spacious. This is not just relief, it is rebirth. The meaning behind your journey is this. You were chosen to carry weight so you could learn to carry wisdom. You were shaped by heaviness so you could walk in clarity. You were strengthened by loneliness so you could walk in divine companionship. You were refined by burdens so you could carry blessing without breaking. What is lifting off you now is not just heaviness, it is every remnant of an old chapter God is closing forever. And what is rising in you now is the version of yourself heaven has been shaping all along. As God begins lifting the weight off your life, signs will start appearing subtle at first, but undeniable once you recognize them. These signs aren't coincidences or random emotional changes. They are heaven's way of showing you that the spiritual shift is real, active, and unfolding. These confirmations will echo through your mind, your spirit, and even your environment, assuring you that God is doing exactly what He promised. Here are the signs many chosen individuals begin to notice. When the season of carrying alone is ending and the divine lifting begins. 1. A sudden sense of inner lightness. This is often the first sign. You may wake up one morning and feel just a little lighter. Not physically, but spiritually. The pressure that sat on your chest may soften. The heaviness that clung to your thoughts may loosen. You may find yourself breathing deeper, thinking clearer, or simply feeling more yourself than you have in a long time. This shift isn't emotional. It's spiritual. It's God removing unseen burdens from your spirit long before your mind catches up. 2. Emotional release that comes without explanation. You might cry unexpectedly or feel a wave of release wash over you. Not sadness cleansing. These tears aren't a breakdown. They are a breakthrough. They are your spirit exhaling after holding too much for too long. When God lifts weight, the soul responds with release. These moments often happen during stillness prayer or even while doing nothing at all. It is the evidence that God is touching places in you that you didn't even realize needed healing. 3. Situations that once drained you start losing their power. People, environments, or responsibilities that used to overwhelm you will suddenly feel different. The things that once irritated your spirit will no longer provoke the same emotional response. You may even look at certain situations and wonder, why does this not bother me like it used to? Because God is lifting what was attached to them. The shift inside you is altering how you experience the world around you. 4. Unexpected moments of peace in the middle of chaos. You will find yourself calm in situations where you once panicked, overwhelmed, or felt crushed. The peace is not logical, it is supernatural. When God intervenes, He gives peace before He gives explanation. You may not understand how everything will work out, but you will feel a quiet confidence rising in you. That is God assuring your spirit that you are no longer carrying things by yourself. 5. Desire to detach from what no longer aligns. You may feel guided to step away from certain dynamics that once felt obligatory. This isn't rejection or withdrawal. It's spiritual realignment. God is lifting weight, and part of that lifting requires removing you from things that kept you burdened. This detachment may feel sudden, but it is intentional. Heaven is calling you into clarity, and clarity often begins with separation. 6. A renewed longing for God's presence. As the weight lifts, space opens inside you, and that space draws you closer to the divine. You may find yourself craving prayer, silence, worship, reflection, or simply moments where your soul feels connected again. This hunger is not random. It is God restoring the parts of you that heaviness once suffocated. The more the burden lifts, the more your spirit awakens. These signs aren't meant to confuse you, they are meant to confirm you. They are heaven's fingerprints on your transformation, evidence that God is actively lifting what once felt immovable. And as these signs appear, something else begins to surface: the challenges that come before fulfillment. Even as God begins lifting the weight off your life, there are challenges that often rise to the surface, not to break you, but to reveal what still needs to be released. These challenges aren't signs that the lifting is failing. They are signs that it's working. When God shifts the atmosphere around you, everything that benefited from your heaviness begins to react. There is always turbulence when a plane rises, and your spirit is rising now. Here are the hidden challenges many face as the divine lifting unfolds. 1. Feeling the weight intensify briefly before it lifts. This is one of the most confusing moments. Just before release, you may feel the burden press harder against your spirit. Not because God is ignoring you, but because the weight is being pushed to the surface. Think of a deep wound. It must rise, cleanse, and come to light before it can fully heal. When the heaviness peaks right before relief, that is often heaven's sign that the breaking point is becoming the breakthrough point. 2. Old emotions resurfacing unexpectedly. You may feel moments of sadness, frustration, or emotional heaviness arise seemingly out of nowhere. This isn't regression, it's extraction. God is pulling out the remnants of old wounds, old beliefs, and old attachments, so they no longer anchor your spirit. These emotions appear because they are leaving you. They are passing through, not returning to stay. 3. People reacting differently to your newfound peace. Some individuals may grow distant, irritated, or uncomfortable with your shift. Not because you changed in a negative way, but because your emotional availability and spiritual sensitivity are no longer feeding their needs. When God lifts weight, He also lifts people who depended on that weight to stay connected to you. This can feel lonely, but it is divine protection in disguise. 4. A sense of emptiness, where the burden used to be. When something heavy has been on your shoulders for years, its absence can feel strange, even uncomfortable. You may wonder, what do I do now? Who am I without this constant weight? This emptiness is not loss. It is space, sacred space, God is preparing to fill with purpose, peace, and restoration. You are shedding what drained you, and your spirit is adjusting to freedom. 5. Temporary confusion as priorities shift. The weight distorted your internal compass. Now that it is lifting, your clarity is returning. But clarity often comes in waves. You may find old goals fading, old desires dissolving, or new direction forming without full definition. This can feel unsettling, but it is a divine recalibration. God is realigning you to a path you could not see while burdened. 6. Spiritual resistance trying to pull you back. Whenever God elevates you, the enemy attempts to distract, confuse, or discourage you. You may feel small spiritual battles, subtle anxiety, or sudden doubts arise. These are the final efforts to keep you tied to what God is removing. But they cannot win, because the lifting is already in motion and heaven's decree overrides every attack. These challenges do not mean you are failing. They mean you are transitioning. They mean the weight is truly lifting. They mean your spirit is stepping into a freedom it has not felt in years. But now that the shift has begun, God is ready to give you direction for where you are going next, not just what you are leaving behind. Now that the weight is lifting and your spirit is shifting, God is not leaving you without direction. When heaven removes one season, it always prepares you for the next. You are stepping into a chapter where clarity matters, alignment matters, and obedience matters more than ever before. This is not a passive season. It is an intentional one. And God is giving you instructions that will guide you into the fullness of what He has prepared. These are not rules. These are not burdens. These are not pressures. These instructions are invitations, sacred pathways that lead you into strength, peace, and wholeness. Let your spirit receive them. 1. Release what God has already removed. One of the greatest hindrances to your next level is holding on to what God has already lifted. The weight is being removed, but your heart must cooperate with the process. If God detaches you from a responsibility, a pattern, or a connection, allow it to fall away. Do not cling to old burdens out of habit. Do not reopen doors God has shut. Do not attempt to revive what heaven has ended. This is your season to let go without guilt. 2. Protect your peace with holy seriousness. Your peace is no longer optional. It is foundational. Peace is the environment where God whispers, guides, and reveals. Now that the weight is being lifted, the enemy's next strategy is to steal your peace. Guard it intentionally. Limit access to people who drain you. Step away from conversations that trouble your spirit. Reduce noise so your inner world can breathe. Protect your mental space as a sacred sanctuary. Your peace is proof that God is leading you. 3. Practice stillness daily. Even in small moments, God speaks most clearly to spirits that are still. Not passive, but still. Even 5 minutes of quiet can shift your entire atmosphere. In this season, your clarity will come from listening more than striving. Stillness will reveal what noise used to hide. Stillness will return the pieces of yourself you thought you lost. Stillness will prepare you for divine instruction you could never receive while burdened. Make room each day, even briefly, for silence and listening. 4. Speak life over yourself consistently. Your words carry creative power. For too long, heaviness shaped your inner dialogue. But now God is asking you to speak differently. Speak strength into your weakness. Speak clarity into your confusion. Speak peace into your fears. Speak blessing into your future. This is not self-help. This is spiritual alignment. Your voice must agree with what heaven is doing. 5. Rest without guilt. Rest will feel unusual at first because you've lived so long in survival mode. But rest is not laziness, it is obedience. When God lifts weight, rest becomes a tool He uses to restore you. Allow yourself to disconnect without shame. Breathe without rushing. Heal without apologizing. Pause without explaining. Your body, mind, and spirit are adjusting to freedom. Rest is part of the restoration. 6. Pay attention to divine nudges. In this season, God will guide you through gentle impressions, inner knowing, or sudden clarity. These nudges will not shout, they will whisper. They will show you where to go, what to release, and what to embrace. You may feel a push toward something new, a pull away from something draining, a conviction in your spirit, a sudden awareness that something is not for you anymore. Don't dismiss these nudges. They are heaven's way of steering your steps. 7. Prepare for new strength. As the weight lifts, strength will return, not the kind that comes from pushing yourself to the limit, but the kind that is born from rest, clarity, and divine presence. God is rebuilding your inner foundation. You will feel more grounded, more aware, more present, and more stable than you have in years. This strength is preparation. It is the strength required to carry blessing, not burden, to carry purpose, not pressure, to carry calling, not heaviness. 8. Keep your heart open to what's coming. The lifting was not just to free you, it was to prepare you. Something new is on its way, something aligned, something deserving of the healed version of you. Keep your heart open to it. Don't let past heaviness shape future expectations. You have been prepared through fire. You are being positioned through release. And now you are being aligned for fulfillment. These instructions are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to guide you into a new way of living, lighter, clearer, stronger, and closer to God than ever before. And as you follow them, you will discover something profound. God is not just lifting weight, He is surrounding you with protection. As God lifts the weight you carried alone, He is not leaving you exposed or vulnerable. The removal of burdens is not an emptying. It is a clearing so that divine protection can fully surround you. What is happening in your life is not merely internal. Heaven is rearranging the atmosphere around you. You may not see it with your eyes, but your spirit will feel it. God is placing a shield around your life. This shield is not symbolic. It is spiritual, it is real, and it is active. There were seasons where you walked without protection because you were too weighed down to recognize danger. Pressure kept you from seeing who drained you. Trauma kept you from seeing who manipulated you. Exhaustion kept you from noticing who took advantage of your kindness. But now that the weight is being lifted, your awareness is sharpening, your discernment is rising, and God's shield is becoming visible through the peace you feel. 1. Divine protection is covering your mind. Where confusion once lived, clarity will begin to settle. The fog that clouded your thoughts is lifting. Anxiety that once flooded your mind is losing its grip. God is creating space inside you where peace can rest and wisdom can flow freely. This is not just emotional calm. It is God guarding the gateway of your thoughts. 2. Divine protection is covering your heart. The heart that endured betrayal, disappointment, abandonment, and emotional burden is being surrounded by supernatural comfort. God is sealing old wounds, closing emotional doors that once stayed open too long, and placing boundaries around your spirit that no one can trespass without divine consent. Your heart is becoming protected ground. 3. Divine protection is covering your relationships. People who were never meant to be in your next season are being gently removed, distanced, or revealed. God is not exposing people to hurt you, He is exposing them to protect you. You will notice connections shift, conversations fade, or certain individuals step back. This is heaven reorganizing your circle. And at the same time, God is preparing to bring new relationships. People who uplift, understand, and align with where you are going. not where you've been. 4. Divine protection is covering your path. Every step you take now is guarded. Doors that aren't meant for you will not open, and that is protection. Opportunities that look right but carry the wrong spirit will fall away, and that is protection. God is guiding your steps with precision, ensuring you walk into destiny, not distraction. Your path is being straightened, not by your effort, but by His command. 5. Divine protection is covering your spirit. The heaviness that once attached to you spiritually will no longer find a place to cling. You are stepping into a new frequency, a higher spiritual vibration where old attacks cannot reach you. God is surrounding your spirit with light, strength, and authority. This protection doesn't just defend you, it empowers you. 6. Divine protection is covering your future. Your next chapter is guarded. Your purpose is shielded. The blessings coming toward you cannot be intercepted. Everything being prepared for you is sealed under divine supervision. Heaven has approved what is coming, and no force, earthly or spiritual, can block what God has ordained. The lifting of your burdens is not just a release. It is an installation of divine guardianship. You are not stepping into a vulnerable place. You are stepping into a protected place, a safe place. A place where God is not only lifting what weighed you down, but standing as a shield around what is rising inside you. And with that protection, something powerful begins to take shape your transformation. As the weight lifts and God's protection surrounds you, something extraordinary begins to unfold inside you. Transformation, not the kind that happens slowly without notice, but the kind that awakens you to a new version of yourself. The version heaven always intended you to become. This is the moment where everything shifts, not because circumstances change instantly, but because you do. You are stepping into a life where heaviness no longer defines your strength, where survival is not your only identity, where emotional exhaustion no longer dictates your choices. A life where you move from carrying burdens to carrying purpose. From enduring silently to rising boldly. From questioning your worth to embodying it. This transformation will not be hidden. It will be visible. It will show in your posture, your presence, your decisions, your mindset, your voice, your spirit. 1. Your spirit will feel lighter. The heaviness that once clouded your soul is dissolving. You will feel more aware, more present, more centered than you have in years. You will wake up with clarity instead of confusion, with hope instead of dread, with energy instead of emotional fatigue. This isn't momentary relief. It's the rebirth of your inner world. 2. Your identity will become clearer. For so long, the burden blurred your sense of self. You lived in reaction, not revelation. You felt responsible for more than your spirit was designed to carry. But now, identity is coming into focus. You'll begin to recognize what is truly yours to hold, what was never yours, and what God is calling you to become. You will finally see yourself without the fog of weight clouding your vision. 3. Your confidence will rise from a place of peace, not arrogance, not strength you have to force, not pretending to be okay, but a quiet, holy confidence that comes from knowing God has lifted what used to crush you. You will walk differently, speak differently, move differently. Confidence grows naturally when the soul is no longer drowning. 4. Your relationships will shift into alignment. People who belong in your next chapter will recognize your transformation. They will honor your boundaries, match your energy, uplift your spirit, and meet you where you are going, not where you have been. You will no longer attract those drawn to your wounds. You will attract those drawn to your growth. This is the transformation of your relational world. 5. Your purpose will become more visible. The weight once blurred the path ahead, but now new clarity will emerge. You will notice ideas forming vision, strengthening inspiration, returning, and direction becoming more defined. What once felt impossible will begin to feel attainable. What once felt distant will begin to feel near. What once felt overwhelming will begin to feel aligned. Purpose thrives where burdens no longer suffocate your spirit. 6. Your spiritual senses will sharpen, your discernment will heighten. Your intuition will strengthen. Your connection to God will deepen. You will notice divine guidance in places you once ignored. The whisper of God will become clearer because the noise of burdens has been silenced. You will move with a sensitivity that was impossible when heaviness dominated your heart. 7. Your environment will respond to your transformation. Doors that once stayed closed will begin to open. Opportunities that once slipped through your fingers will begin to stick. Situations that once rejected you will begin to recognize you. Why? Because you are no longer approaching life weighed down. You are approaching life aligned with heaven. 8. You will begin to experience fulfillment. This is not the fulfillment of everything instantly, but the fulfillment of who you are becoming. The fulfillment of inner stability, inner peace, inner strength. The fulfillment of knowing you are finally living from a place of wholeness and not woundedness. Fulfillment will show up in moments where you feel grateful for small things again. You recognize beauty in places that once felt dark. You feel hope rising without forcing it. You breathe without feeling pressure. You sense God's presence in ways that feel personal and intimate. This is the fulfillment that prepares you for the blessings ahead. Your transformation is not just inward, it is spiritual, emotional, relational, and atmospheric. You are becoming the version of yourself that the weight once tried to bury. But now the weight is gone and you are rising. What comes next is not burden, not fear, not confusion, but blessing sealed by divine affirmation. Before this message ends, there are truths you need to plant deep within your spirit. Truths that will anchor you, strengthen you, and remind you of who you are now that God has lifted what you once carried alone. These affirmations are not just words. They are spiritual declarations. Speak them out loud if you can. Whisper them if you must. Let them settle into the places where heaviness once lived. Affirmation 1. I release every weight that God has lifted from me. You are no longer tied to the burdens that once defined your days. This declaration separates you from the heaviness that had attached itself to your spirit. Say it with certainty, knowing heaven has already made it true. Affirmation 2. I am protected, covered, and guided in this new season. You are not stepping into the unknown without support. You are surrounded. You are shielded. Every step you take from here forward is watched, guarded, and guided. God has gone ahead of you and stands beside you. Affirmation 3. I walk in clarity, peace, and divine strength. Confusion no longer has access to your mind. Chaos no longer rules your emotions. Weakness no longer drains your spirit. You are aligned with heaven's clarity and strengthened by God's presence. Affirmation 4. I am becoming who God intended me to be. This is your declaration of transformation. You are not in survival anymore. You are in becoming. You are stepping into identity, purpose, and fulfillment with confidence and grace. Now let this blessing rest over you as a seal, a covering, and a prophetic closing to the word you've just received. Final blessing. May the God who lifted the weight off your shoulders surround you with unshakable peace. May every burden that once drained your spirit remain broken, dismantled, and powerless. May your heart walk into this new season with clarity, courage, and quiet confidence. I speak divine protection over your mind. May no confusion return. I speak divine healing over your heart. May no wound reopen. I speak divine strengthening over your spirit. May no heaviness reignite. May the path ahead of you be bright, guided and aligned with God's perfect timing. May the doors meant for you open with ease, and the doors not meant for you stay closed without regret. May your relationships shift into balance, harmony, and divine alignment. May your soul rise higher than it ever has before. May your identity shine clearer than you've ever seen it. And may you walk forward with the knowing that you are protected, chosen, and deeply loved by God. You have carried enough. You have endured enough. And now you are stepping into a season where God carries you. Go forward with peace. Go forward with strength. Go forward with expectation, because the lifting has already begun.